Hey everybody, my name is Brandon Scott and welcome to the Fandom Pastor, which can be found on our YouTube channel, Facebook page, or podcast. The Fandom Pastor is for all of us who love our fandoms and our faith. Fandoms are anything that somebody has a deep love for. Harry Potter, Broadway musicals, cult films, to name just a few. Join the Fandom Pastor as we see how God is connected to it all. And don't forget to share, like, and subscribe.
Hey, all, this is Pastor Brandon with our next episode of the Fandom Pastor. Yesterday being Christmas, Merry Christmas. And so, as we continue our series on cryptids and mythological creatures, the last few weeks we've been considering the mythological creatures, and we're kind of continuing that. The clue from last time is that this mythological character exists for real in the Marvel comic universe and is considered one of the most powerful mutants that exists in, again, the Marvel comic universe. I'm sure you've already guessed, we are talking about Santa Claus. So, as many of you probably know already, yesterday, of course, was Christmas, and so we're talking about Santa Claus. And again, many of you probably know this part. He's based on a real person called Saint Nicholas, who was a monk who was born around 280 A.D. Um, Interestingly enough, and many of you probably don't know this, he actually was very wealthy. He inherited quite a bit of wealth, and he was said to have given away all of his inherited wealth and traveled the countryside helping the poor and the sick. Kind of like the stories we hear of Santa Claus, just giving away everything. And one of the best known St. Nicholas stories is the time he saved these three sisters from being sold into either slavery or even prostitution by their father by providing them with a dowry so that they could get married. Now, of course, that wouldn't be really appropriate now. We just basically provide for them so they wouldn't have to get married at all. But a different time, of course. Now, of course, as we consider this idea of Santa Claus, Saint Nicholas, we look at 2 Corinthians chapter 9, verses 6 to 8. Um, each of you should give what you've decided in your heart to give, not reluctantly or under compulsion. For God loves a cheerful giver. We're supposed to just give all that we have and uh, everything that we do for our good works. And so it's important that we consider to give everything that we have, just pour out everything we have abundantly without expecting any sort of repayment or any sort of recognition, anything like that. That is definitely something that we have to be careful of as followers of Christ. We have to be careful that we're not trying to either show off to the rest of the world or trying to buy our way into heaven or anything like that. We're to give just to give because that's what we're called to do. We're called to give because that's what Christ showed us by his example and what he's calling us to give all that we have. Santa Claus doesn't give because he wants to get a scorecard filled up or anything like that. He gives because that's who he is. And as Christians, that should be who we are as well, is just givers because that's what we're called to do. So as we consider this story of Santa Claus, of Saint Nicholas, what are you doing? Um, how are you showing the spirit of Christ, the spirit of Christmas, all year long, not just during December, not just during the winter months or anything like that? What are you doing to show that example all year long? And sometimes it'll take sometimes a little bit of a critical eye to look at ourselves under that perspective. I know many of you, or many people rather, give or have New Year's resolutions. And so maybe that's part of what you do. I don't do New Year's resolutions. I figure we should do it anyways. And besides that, if I give myself a resolution, it's almost like I need to follow that up, and I'm kind of bad at that. So I just try to be intentional all year long and not just wait for the beginning of the year or anything like that. But maybe it helps you. What are you doing as an example, as living the life you're called to live? Just something to think about. So, the clue for next time, as we continue our series on cryptids and mythological creatures, this is most famously an Irish legend and requires the mythological creature to shed its skin in order to leave the sea. Thanks, God bless, and see you next time.